Jonah and the Whale. God gave a man named Jonah a task. Jonah was to go to the city of Nineveh, one of the most wicked cities in the world. There he was to preach God's word so the people might be saved from being destroyed. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. He ran down to the harbor and climbed aboard a ship that was traveling as far away from Nineveh as he could find. Then he hid from God deep down in the boat. As soon as the ship was out to sea, God sent a huge storm after it. Gigantic waves crashed down on the ship. Sailors who had been at sea their whole lives were very afraid. They had never seen such a fierce storm. If the sea didn't calm down, they would all die in a watery death. While the sailors were panicking on the deck of the ship, Jonah was down in the lowest level, sleeping. He slept so soundly, he had no idea the boat was being pulled apart by the sea. All the sailors prayed to their own gods, but the storm raged on. Then the captain went down to find Jonah, told him about the storm, and asked him to pray to his God. They all decided to draw straws to see which one of them was responsible for the terrible storm. Jonah drew the short straw. He knew then the storm was God's way of telling him that he could not hide and should not have run away. Jonah confessed to the sailors that the storm was his fault for not listening to God. He worried that he might be putting all the other sailors on the ship in danger and asked them to throw him into the sea to save themselves. But the men refused because they were sure that if Jonah went into the crashing water, he would die. They rowed as hard as they could, trying to get the boat back to shore, but it was no use. The storm was very strong. Finally, they had no choice. They asked Jonah's God to forgive them and threw Jonah over the side of the boat. The wild storm of the sea stopped right then. They were amazed at God's power and promised only to worship him in the future. God had been waiting for the sailors to throw Jonah overboard. He had instructed a giant whale to swallow him. Jonah was trapped in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. In the dark, and he was surrounded in the smell of fish, he prayed to God from inside the whale. Jonah was very sorry for trying to run and hide instead of going as God had said and going to Nineveh. At the end of 3 days, God told the whale to spit Jonah out on dry land. The whale was happy to have Jonah out of her belly, and Jonah was to be free. Jonah was thankful for God sparing his life. He went to Nineveh, and the people were saved from being destroyed. He decided from then on, he would do as God asked him from the very start.